and welcome to this edition of Northwest Newsweek. Vaccinations of residents in the city's 6 long-term care homes are nearly complete, but delays with shipments of the Pfizer vaccine to Canada have forced a halt on some immunizations and rationing to make sure those who received their first dose can receive the second. Corey Nordstrom has details.
By Friday, nearly all residents of long-term care homes in the city of Thunder Bay will have received their first round of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. But the effects of Pfizer limiting its vaccine shipments to Canada are now being felt in the city.
For now, we're in a situation where we don't have sufficient vaccine to be able to extend the opportunity for long-term care staff as well as essential caregivers to be vaccinated.
The pivot comes with directive from the province's vaccination task force. The hospital president says over 2,100 vaccinations have been given out in the city, and they're now rationing their remaining vaccine to make sure second doses can be given out to residents in the homes at the recommended dates. But they're looking into options on making it last as long as possible.
We have planned to give all second doses at 21 days. There is latitude in Monograph to move to 28 days. However, the medical NACI leaders through the provincial task force have identified that some individuals could go to up to 42 days.
The plan all along was for vaccinations of long-term care home residents, staff, and essential caregivers along the North Shore to start once the city of Thunder Bay is complete. Because of the vaccine shortage, more will need to arrive before it can head to the rest of the district.
Created a plan and submitted to the ministry with respect to how we would like to roll this out, and we're looking forward to having some support with respect to vaccine supply to be able to fulfill that responsibility. The provincial goal and our goal remains to get long-term care residents first dose all by mid-February, so we'll continue to move to that goal.
Crocker Ellicott says about 65 residents of long-term care homes along the North Shore are considered potential candidates for the vaccine. Corey Nordstrom, TBC News.
On Thursday and Friday, the Thunder Bay District Health Unit reported huge daily spikes in cases of COVID-19. Friday's 21 new cases came in the midst of 4 outbreaks in the region, including the Thunder Bay Correctional Center and District Jail. Michael Mahorovich spoke to Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Janet DeMille, about the situation.
There were 21 new cases of COVID-19 in the Thunder Bay District Friday, including 1 more at the jail and a total of 15 in the broader community. This comes after a whopping 56 new cases on Thursday.
The more, virus we have in the community, the more people who are sick, of course, the more, at risk we are of having sort of broader spread in the community. And, that's hard. That's, that has its own impacts as well. So it feels uncomfortable right now, but we're working hard to try to contain it.
The district jail and correctional center are of particular concern, with 18 and 44 active cases respectively. A number of inmates from the jail have just been transferred to Toronto to help manage the outbreaks here. DeMille says potentially infected staff are an issue too, because they come and go from work every day.
We have asked staff who were working at the facility, the correctional center, anytime after on or after January 10th, to do work self-isolation so that they can come to work and wear personal protective equipment, and they stay home when they're not at work. For now, that their household members isolate as well until we have a chance to talk to them and get that staff person tested.
3 of Friday's 21 new cases are from the Vallard East-West project near Marathon. DeMille says they're confident they have that outbreak under control, but they're still being extremely vigilant. And there are 2 more cases at Southbridge Roseview. DeMille says some of the staff there have been vaccinated, and she's very hopeful that outbreak will end soon. Her optimism comes the same day that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced another delay of the Pfizer vaccine. Canada will receive 4 million doses, but not until the end of March.
It is discouraging, though, that the supply of vaccine is still quite limited. There are so many other people and places that we could be immunizing right now if we had more vaccine that would really help us all. We're nearing the end. We're closer to the end of this pandemic, I think, than the beginning, and we have to hold on.
Michael Mahorovich, TBT News.
As background work continues on the All Nations Hospital in Kenora, earlier this month, the current Lake of the Woods District Hospital cut the ribbon on its newly relocated dialysis unit, and with it, a long list of improvements for patient care. Adam Riley reports.
Patients receiving dialysis treatment in the Kenora area are now enjoying a more open space following the grand opening of the Lake of the Woods District Hospital's relocated dialysis unit on the 4th floor of the facility. Prior to this, the unit was located next to the emergency department. The move cost approximately $1 million, with $700,000 coming from the province and the rest made up through donations from the community. Hospital CEO Ray Reset says while yes, the hospital is still looking towards the construction of the new All Nations Hospital, they are still expecting to be in the current hospital for some time and wanted to better utilize the building.
We went from a unit that opened 30 years ago on our lower floor, and we were just completely out of space. We had put in a 6-chair last year, and you know, we could fit it in, but everything was so congested for the patients and for staff, and we just felt we don't have any more capacity possibly in that room, even for more patients. So we just said we have to do something better than that.
Dialysis patients spend several hours 3 times a week receiving treatment. And Reset believes an open space with better lighting and more natural elements will improve the quality of patient care. He adds the list of positives with the move doesn't stop there.
The unit that opened upstairs last week will allow us to go up to 8 patients. So we currently only have, we only have approval for 6, but we do have capacity now over time where we could handle more patients. So that was one of our goals as well.
And finally, the move has freed up some space to expand the hospital's emergency department, which Reset says also experiences congestion issues. He hopes the space will allow the hospital to better accommodate mental health and addictions issues. Those changes he expects to happen over the next few months. Adam Riley, TBT News.
The Regional Food Distribution Association continues to play a major role during the pandemic in providing food to shelters and food banks right across the Northwest, but they're facing some issues to start the new year. The RFDA says right now food availability isn't the problem. Its biggest issue is transporting food fast enough to the communities and places in need before items expire. Executive Director Volker Krom says they've been designated by Food Banks Canada and Feed Ontario as a main hub to receive bulk food that isn't being sold at restaurants. As a result, they've had to make changes to their warehouse storage in order to keep track of all the extra items.
Yes, a lot of things have changed with COVID. You'll notice that in our warehouse, we have completely restructured our warehouse because of the increased volume of bulk food that's coming through our system. We had to rearrange, reorganize because we're now finding ourselves serving many more communities. A lot of First Nation communities are part of our network now, and we're shipping regularly to various ports in the north, and it's going out by air cargo.
Krom hopes people will continue to donate as the RFDA now has added storage and transportation expenses, and eventually the bulk purchases will dwindle. The city of Dryden is officially moving towards renaming Colonization Avenue. It comes following a push last summer to re-examine the name of the street and the impact it has on Indigenous residents who have experienced the negative effects of colonization. Adam Riley has the story.
This has been generating a lot of response and polarized views. However, the name Colonization Avenue needs to change.
It's a position that has been accepted by members of Dryden City Council, who earlier this month accepted a street naming application proposed by the city's Working Circle, a committee made up of city and Indigenous representatives. Cheryl Edwards is the executive director of the Dryden Native Friendship Centre and the co-chair of the Working Circle, which was struck to improve relations between First Nations and both the city and residents of Dryden. She's happy to see younger residents express support and understands why older residents are resistant to the proposal.
Many are afraid of change. I get that. A lot of people have concerns about the cost of changing, and when the information packages that have been prepared by the Working Circle go out to those individuals, they will realize there is minimal or no cost at all. to do this.
Councillor Shane McKinnon, who is also a co-chair of the Working Circle, is also addressing those who are questioning the name change and fear the loss of local history as a result.
You don't forget history, but you don't always have to celebrate it. And I think this is one of those issues where we won't forget the origin of the name or the community or anyone involved with it, but we don't have to celebrate something that's hurtful to others.
Going forward, the city is inviting residents to participate in the recommendation to rename Colonization Avenue, including offering suggestions by submitting online before March 13th. McKinnon says he looks forward to seeing the suggestions, but stresses only 3 will be put into the final running.
We intend to retain all the names for their perusal at any time, but we are going to make a recommendation to them of a name from those 3 that we think is reflective of the community and certainly the diversity that we have in our community.
Both Edwards and McKinnon are hopeful to see the name change made official for June 21st, also known as National Indigenous Peoples Day. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Ford government has announced an investment of nearly $11 million to bring faster broadband to Northern Ontario, notably in the Marathon and Terrace Bay areas, Oliver Papoonge and rural Thunder Bay. The money will also construct a new 22-kilometer fiber network for several First Nations in the Rainy River District and upgrade the speed and capacity for KNET, which serves more than 80 communities in the far north. Funding comes as many area students and residents are currently learning or working from home during the pandemic, which requires adequate broadband infrastructure. The Ministry of Transportation conducted a 36-hour commercial motor vehicle safety blitz in the Greenstone area and Terrace Bay areas this week. That was along with the OPP. The blitz took 17 commercial vehicles out of service as a result of numerous safety-related defects. 54 charges were issued, which included infractions for load security, improper braking systems, overweight loads, trip inspection reports, speeding, and dangerous goods violations. The blitz was the latest initiative to support the OPP's collision mitigation strategy. The goal is to reduce the number of transport-related collisions on OPP-patrolled roads and highways. Coming up after the break, a snow clearing device purchased by the town of Ignace is catching steam online. A recent video from Ignace has gone viral. The town is showcasing a new piece of equipment that is sure to make many residents of the Northwest envious. The video of a Snowgate attachment on the town's grader has been viewed over 160,000 times since it was posted last week. When it's engaged, the Snowgate scoops up the excess snow on the end of the blade, preventing that dreaded pile at the end of the driveway. Patrina Taylor-Hertz is the new spokesperson for Ignace. She says the Snowgate was purchased for $15,000 and has been considered money well spent.
Our management team was, they had seen this in the past in other communities. They looked at trying to make it easier for our elderly population in our community that have to shovel their driveways.
Taylor-Hertz notes 33% of Ignace's population are considered seniors. She adds the town has already been contacted by other municipalities regarding the Snowgate to find out how well it's been working in the area. Council in Rainy River is looking for a new member following the resignation of one of its councillors earlier this month. Andrew Hartnell was first elected in 2018 and also served as deputy mayor. He ran for the People's Party of Canada in the Thunder Bay Rainy River district during the 2019 federal election and has since opened a business of which he self-operates. Mayor Deb Ewald says she's thankful for Hartnell's service and council has opted to replace him by appointment. She adds she feels for the person who gets the role as they will have to play catch-up and get used to various procedures.
There is a big learning curve with this job, but as far as council goes, like we work really well as a unit, and I think we'll be okay that way, and we can mentor this person along. And like I said, our staff here are more than helpful when needed.
Ewald is hopeful that the appointee will want to continue in their role on council by running in the 2022 municipal election. There's some very promising news for Barrick's Hemlo mine, which could see its lifespan expanded. The mine, east of Marathon, recently underwent a shift in direction, which will have the open pit portion close and operations move underground. When Barrick merged with Randgold in 2018, management wanted to assess the site for its potential, as little was known about what lay beneath the surface. Catherine Raw is Barrick's chief operating officer for North America, and she says what geologists have discovered will allow for operations to continue into the next decade, long past its expected end of 2022.
So what's clear is now, as we understand the existing ore body better, we're beginning to see extensions to the west, underground, good grades. So what we're seeing is the future of Hemlo is now an underground mining operation that is able to grow to the west. There's potential now also in the remnant workings to the east.
Ross says the open pit section will provide a portal to the underground operations. New equipment and infrastructure will be brought in to facilitate the transition. The Hemlo site has been in operation for over 30 years and has produced more than 21 million ounces of gold. The mine employs hundreds of workers, many of which live in the surrounding communities of Marathon, Manitowaj, and White River. The Northern Policy Institute is examining a new model it hopes will make Northern Ontario more self-sufficient when it comes to goods and services. The model for a so-called Northern Ontario circular economy was discussed Tuesday during an online symposium. Speakers included those in the mining sector to researchers and professors. A more circular economy in Northern Ontario would revolve around cohesive action between industry and government. It would involve areas that would further support growth, create more jobs, and become its own supply chain. MPI President Charles Sirtwell says there are still untapped resources in the area and more work and awareness is required to reap some of those benefits.
This is a huge economic opportunity for areas like Northern Ontario. And so in addition to taking a serious look at our regulatory environment, taking a serious look at how well we're doing in terms of communicating with each other about what exactly are the waste products that we can offer to others, there's still a lot of that public engagement and public education that has to happen.
A similar symposium will be offered in June, further focused on Northwestern Ontario and small businesses. When we come back, we look at a new documentary that highlights the fascinating story of Wendell Beckwith, the man who left society and chose to isolate in the remote wilderness near Armstrong. The curious and fascinating story of Wendell Beckwith has been turned into a new documentary with the help of the Thunder Bay Museum. In the 1970s, Beckwith lived in the remote wilderness near Armstrong and gained notoriety for his intricate handmade cabins and scientific pursuits. Troy Charles has more.
I just wasn't interested in knowing what's known. What even the most advanced scientists, what they're doing is admitting they don't know. Because those things that they're teaching in school are the known. And I was interested in the unknown.
The documentary film, which was 3 years in the making, is titled In Search of Wendell Beckwith. It was made through a partnership between the Thunder Bay Museum and local filmmaker Jim Hyder. The film examines the life of Beckwith, who lived on Whitewater Lake in what is now Wabakimi Provincial Park from 1961 until his death in 1980. The museum holds the artifact collection and archival records created and collected by Beckwith, which play a role in the film. Museum curator and archivist Michael de Jong is pleased with how the documentary turned out.
We're really excited about the end product. I mean, yeah, it has been a labor of love, especially obviously for Jim and his film team to produce this documentary. Jim has said that this is something that has been kind of a white whale for him for some time. So it feels great to see it come to fruition for sure.
The film covers the relationships Beckwith forged with local Indigenous peoples, canoe trippers, and others, along with the construction of his intricate cabins, his scientific pursuits, as well as the future of the site. The film is narrated by Wendell's grandson, Tyler Beckwith Evans, who never met his grandfather but learned about his life through the film and visiting the cabins. DeYoung explains why Beckwith's story really resonates with him.
And particularly his cabins that he constructed, which are fascinating in and of themselves with their construction, really ahead of his time in terms of design in that sense. Everything from a fridge that raised and lowered into the ground, and the way that he constructed these inventions that helped him live in a hostile and harsh wilderness north of here.
The film development was supported through funding from the Ontario Arts Council, Lakehead University, and many others. It can be viewed on the Thunder Bay Museum's project webpage, as well as directly on Vimeo.
I bet you any money that, if we put enough effort, enough people, put 100 good minds around the world on his work, there's probably a dozen discoveries in there that would lead to, maybe one of them would be earth-shattering, change the world type information.
Troy Charles, TBT News.
In most cases, you have to be pretty famous and legendary to have your own figurine, but one Dryden man is using his artistic ability to create one-of-a-kind pieces of memorabilia. Adam Riley has that story.
I love the aesthetics of hockey. That's where most of it stems from, and giving people stuff that they deserve.
This week, Mike Nerino began his 283rd customization. Keenan Marks, a goalie who plays for the Thunder Bay Kings, using Montreal Canadiens star goalie Carey Price as the base model. For the last 15 years, Nerino has been flexing his artistic talent, converting greats like Crosby, Zetterberg, and Lemieux into players from high school and regional leagues like the SIJHL. He says a simple paint job with logos can be completed on a Sunday, but there are some custom projects that take a little bit longer.
So sometimes it's a matter of prying off the helmet and hot gluing, sculpting hair, or using polymer clay for old school goalie face masks or something like that, and bake it in the oven and glue it in place. Swapping out parts and swapping out gloves and sticks and things like that to make it look like that person. That's the process gets a little bit more involved.
Over time, he has amassed hundreds of parts and paints, all of which have been given to him by friends or family. And after posting some of his completed works to social media, he gives the figurines to the players or their families for free. A lifelong hockey fan, Nerino says these figures can have a bigger impact than a framed jersey or picture. He adds the joy for him is when he completes a figurine.
The spike in that emotion is, okay, this one's done, and I'm going to the post office and I'm sending it off. That's the big one, unless it's something that's very emotional, where it's been commissioned by the family of somebody that passed away. If I have the opportunity to physically present it to that family, which I've done in cases, obviously that's a totally different feeling, and that's very meaningful when I get to do that.
As Nerino nears the 300 mark, he says a combination of too many player design possibilities and current demand will push his total well past that mark. Adam Riley, TBT News.
That's all for this edition of Northwest Newsweek. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.